Pam Bondi sat down at her usual café, but just a few minutes later, someone approached her and quietly whispered, "You're not wanted here. Please leave." The reason? Unknown. Her reaction? Powerful enough to make history. And now, you're about to witness the moments that shook the entire nation. Pam Bondi was walking toward her favorite spot in the city center during her lunch break. As the Florida sun warmed her skin, her mind replayed the details of the morning meeting. It had been a busy and exhausting morning. A coffee and a brief moment of solitude felt like a small reward. It had been 7 years since her first visit to this cafe. The waiters knew her, the manager knew her by name, and her coffee was prepared before she even ordered. She wasn't just a customer, she was practically part of the place. As she walked in, she adjusted the small gold cross on her collar. Without realizing it, her fingers always went to it in stressful times. It had a calming effect. When she walked in, the familiar scent of coffee hit her nose. The place was quiet. Sunlight from the window illuminated her favorite corner table. A waiter recognized her immediately and smiled. "The usual, Ms. Bondi." Pam nodded. "Yes, please." And a slice of lemon cake. Everything seemed normal, or so it appeared. At first, Pam didn't notice anything. Her head was filled with that morning's case files. But soon after, she began to notice strange looks from the corner of her eye. She tried to focus on the notes in front of her, but this time, she couldn't concentrate. The woman in the left corner had whispered something to a waiter, who then quickly walked into the back. Pam felt a slight pang in her chest. These were familiar faces, but today, they felt different. Just then, a man in a black suit approached her with slow, deliberate steps. He didn't pull anything from his pocket. He didn't show any ID, but his posture was serious. His voice was low, but carried an authority that wasn't threatening. "Excuse me, but you're being asked to leave." Pam raised her eyebrows. She lifted her head and looked him in the eye. The man avoided direct eye contact. "I'm sorry. I must have misunderstood." "What did you say?" "By decision of the management, you need to leave." There was a moment of silence. The first thought that flashed through Pam's mind. Is this a joke? But the man's expression didn't budge. Not even slightly. In the background, even the sound of the coffee machine seemed to stop. Customers weren't speaking. They were just watching. Pam took a deep breath. She didn't react right away. She looked around first. Where was the manager? Why wasn't any staff offering an explanation? After all these years, after so many familiar faces, were they really expecting her to just quietly walk out? Without a word? Seriously? She reached for her bag but didn't stand up. On the contrary, she sat even more firmly in her chair and squared her shoulders. "I'm sitting here. I placed my order. I'm waiting for my coffee. I'm not going anywhere unless you tell me why I'm being asked to leave." The muscles in the man's face tightened. He glanced toward the back, behind the register. The manager was looking through the window, but wasn't coming closer. "Pam, tell me the reason. Isn't that every customer's right? Especially someone who's been coming here for years like me." The man didn't answer. In that moment, the silence between them spoke louder than anything else. Pam recognized the feeling. This was the presence of something no one wanted to say out loud. And usually behind such situations, there was always just someone whose comfort had been disturbed. The man tried to remain expressionless. "Please don't make this difficult. That's the information I was given." "I don't know the reason," he said. Pam thought to herself, what did I do? Did I speak too loudly? Was I rude to someone? No, this must be a misunderstanding. But why are they being so secretive? "At the very least, I want an explanation," Pam said. "Whoever sent you to have this conversation, I expect an explanation from them." The man looked over to the distant manager. The manager was standing at the kitchen door, but still wouldn't approach. Pam took a deep breath. Some people felt uncomfortable when they saw you wearing your cross necklace. Apparently, there's sensitivity around religious symbols. Pam swallowed in shock. Her heart started to race, but her face remained composed. She slowly brought her hand to her necklace, gently brushing the small gold cross with her thumb. Her heart beat faster, but her voice was still under control. Pam, thinking, this isn't just a symbol. This is me. And if I stay silent now, who'll be the next one asked to stay silent? "Pam, You know, my father gave me this cross years ago. I've worn it to every hearing since. It's not just a symbol, it's my past, my values, and my fight. The man fell silent. The manager stood at a distance, watching them from behind the counter. Pam turned her gaze to him. The warm, familiar face she once knew had turned into a cold, expressionless mask. Pam stood up, fixed her eyes on the manager, and asked in a clear but calm tone, "Am I really an unwelcome person here, just because of my necklace?" The manager couldn't respond. The crowd had fallen completely silent. Customers avoiding eye contact, a waiter nervously turning a glass in their hand, the man standing quietly by the table. They all had one thing in common: cowardice. Pam exhaled quietly. She had made her decision. Today there would be no backing down. She sat back down at the table. But this time, she wasn't just waiting for coffee. What she was waiting for now was justice, an explanation, accountability, a confrontation. Finally, the manager approached. There was hesitation in his steps, desperation in his eyes. "Pam, I know this isn't right, but there was backlash. There were a few posts on social media. Some people don't want to be seen. They don't want to draw attention." Pam narrowed her eyes at him. Her voice was still calm, but there was hidden anger beneath it. "So because some people don't want to draw attention, I should become invisible? Let me ask you, without disrespect, whose comfort does this restaurant actually prioritize?" The manager said nothing. "Pam, look, when I sat down here, I didn't say anything to anyone. I didn't laugh. I didn't speak. I didn't say anything political. But people were still uncomfortable, weren't they? Do you know why? Because when someone stands firm and wears their faith openly, it forces others to confront their own weakness." The manager looked away. "I'm not the one making the decisions," he said. "The higher-ups ask for this. I can apologize, but beyond that, my hands are tied." Pam stood up. She picked up her bag from the table, leaned slightly toward the manager, and touched her necklace. "Today you're telling me to stay silent. Tomorrow it'll be someone else. And then what? A headscarf? A slogan? A book cover? Is this how neutrality works? If no one speaks up, do you think you can erase everything? Please, don't take this the wrong way. It's nothing personal," Pam responded firmly. "No, it is personal, because my faith is personal, and you targeted that. So this issue is personal too." The manager took a deep breath and for the first time, stepped back. There was a flicker of regret in his eyes. But at that moment, what truly mattered was that Pam was standing her ground. Pam stepped back, then delivered her final words slowly and clearly. "Sometimes the voice of justice doesn't echo in courtrooms. It echoes in cafes. Today I was that voice. And believe me, everyone who tried to silence me only made me louder." Just then a customer stood up, then another. The eyes that had once stared at her were now filled with respect. A faint clap was heard, hesitant at first, then growing with courage. Pam walked toward the door. She caught a glimpse of her reflection in the glass. Her cross necklace still shone. In that moment, she understood. Today, she hadn't just stood for herself. She had stood for all those who had stayed silent. A customer posted about what happened on social media. Hundreds of people shared it. A local news outlet published a story with the headline, "Familiar Lawyer, Unfamiliar Pressure." In that same day, Pam Bondi tweeted just one sentence: "Silence doesn't always bring peace. Sometimes you remind people of justice simply by existing." Bondi's quiet but powerful stance became more than just a moment. It became a question that echoed in everyone's conscience. Identity, faith, or simply existing? Are these things truly offensive? Or just something some eyes don't want to see? So what would you have done? Is this just Pam's story? Or is it a reflection of the invisible judgments we all face? Share your thoughts in the comments and let us know where you're watching from. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more stories like this and to support our work. See you in the next video. Take care.